To curb oil theft and economic sabotage, the Nigerian military has destroyed 21 illegal refineries across the Niger Delta region. The operations carried out over the past week also led to the arrest of 23 individuals suspected of engaging in illegal oil bunkering. Authorities say the crackdown is part of a broader national security measure aimed at protecting the country's oil infrastructure and improving revenue generation. Joining us from our Abuja studio is security consultant Patrick Agbambu. Good morning. It's good to have you join us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Great. Now, Patrick, this is not the first time we are having a military clamp down on illegal oil bunkering and arrests being made. Successive governments have put in measures, yet we are still finding ourselves dealing with this issue. What really is the challenge?
Thank you. Yeah, it's sad that this is reoccurring regularly, and there seems to be no stopping because some factors are not being taken care of. The major factor is the distancing of the people of the community where these oil facilities are, or where these pipelines, the infrastructure passes through from the oil activities itself. They feel that this is their God-given natural resources, and it's been taken away, and they are not feeling the impact of the revenue that comes from the oil. So they give kind of approval to anybody who wants to steal it and all that. So, and in the last few months, they have become so brazen, they have become so daring that the country is now getting disturbed. The oil production quota and lifting quota has actually dropped in the last 1.5 months and all that. And I believe that the efforts of the armed forces or the security agencies, if they intensify the efforts, would help to improve the situation. But as it is now, it's far cry from what every well-meaning Nigerian would want.
Okay, let us give some context to this thing. You know, had the privilege of talking to a few of them that have been involved in this thing. That's long before now, and this is the submission they gave, that look, we can't till the soil no more. It has been polluted, and we don't have fish in the rivers anymore. The only thing that brings money is this oil, and we don't have access to it. So how do we feed our families and so on? With this kind of mentality, will this crackdown start a permanent, be like a permanent solution to this problem, do you think?
I don't think it will be a permanent solution. It's just maybe treating one of the symptoms. The permanent solution is to take development to these people, and that is a permanent. All the joint ventures agreement, all the community development initiatives, all the agreement between the oil servicing companies, the oil producing companies, and even the NNPC Limited has not met the need or the demands of the people. They are still far from developing this community or giving a sustaining livelihood to the people. And that is the reason why even the security agencies, no matter the directive you issue as the Chief of Defense Staff or the various service chiefs going there's no cooperation from within the community people, because sometimes they give backing to these people who steal this. So without buying the support of the people of the community, I don't think there will be any solution to that. Then secondly, the policy of hiring contract staff. Some of all these people that are carrying out this vandalization and this crude oil stealing, they have experiences in it, because one way or the other, one time or the other, they had worked with either the oil servicing companies or the NNPC or the pipeline laying companies. So they know how to do it, but after their contract, they are laid off, and so they get back to the business, this time illegally, to try to meet their own personal demands and their family demands. So this really is the factor why all these things will continue. Until these two areas are taken care of, we'll continue to have this situation, and the Commander-in-Chief will continue to give orders. The security agencies will continue to arrest and to destroy these illegal refineries. These people will continue to carry out this. And mind you again, the pipelines are obsolete already. Some of them naturally, because over 20, 30 years this has been laid, and some of them are weak already. Then there are some abandoned oil wellheads that are all not properly sealed up. And so there are a lot of factors that will make these things to continue. And until these factors are looked into critically, we will continue to go around the circle of oil theft.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, well said. But you mentioned the issue of the communities suffering from, an after effect of oil, spillage. Thank you. In these communities, and that's where I want us to really talk about as well, please. If we have a lot of oil servicing companies within these particular areas mining oils from these states, what should be their responsibility as to, one, helping the people to benefit from their oil wells or from the wells in their land? That is from the companies, which also gives an extension to the government. What is the role of the government also in making sure, holding these companies to account, whereby if you dig oil from the places, you should clean it up as well. We don't need to now come back years later or maybe a long period after to begin to clean up the place. Why not, as you're digging and it spills off, the after effect of this, handle it immediately. It doesn't need to snowball into that, because the people are looking at how the oil companies are getting fat out of the treasures from their land while they're getting impoverished. And so they now say, okay, if this is how this thing is going on, why don't we also find a way of eating from the largesse in our land? So to end that cycle you're talking about, what can the government do, or what should the government do in holding companies to account and also making the people benefit from what is their land?
Yeah, thank you for that question. Is it before any oil servicing companies start operating in any of these communities, or even the joint venture agreements, the big oil exploring companies, they go into what the community corporate social responsibility agreement with the communities. The communities are expected to appoint a local liaison who will help to see and present the demands of the community. The traditional ruler of that community will also be carried along and all that. After all the ceremonies and all the agreements are signed, then implementation becomes a problem. And nobody to go back on behalf of the community to ensure that these companies keep to the agreement that has been signed. Though sometimes these servicing companies, or whoever they are, will also say that there is corruption involved, because they provide whatever support they are supposed to provide to those that are representing these communities with them, who are liaising with them. But so many times we have advocated that instead of giving money to these people, why don't you carry out projects that will be supervised by the community and by independent bodies? Carry out projects for them, and so that nobody within the community has to handle money and to say someone is embezzling the money. But the youth will still complain about it, that they need to get some cash, some fund with them and all that. So it's something that needs this a quick and a serious federal government intervention. It's enough. I think it's time that federal government shouldn't just lay back, because NNPC in itself, which is supposed to be this head body in the whole factor, has actually not played the role it should play as making sure that the things are carried out. Even the oil companies are accusing NNPC that they pay them their joint venture agreement funds, their counterpart funds, and yet they themselves, the NNPC, don't do anything back into the communities, leaving everything to them. So it's a whole circle that calls for serious scrutiny, and I think the President and Commander-in-Chief should, as a matter of urgency, look into these factors and find out what is happening in those communities, because it's not helpful. We can't continue to go around all this crisis all the time. Now it's getting worse. Yes, at a point where production had increased to 1.6, now it has dropped to about 1.4 from the last record. And if care is not taken, it might drop further. In spite of all the efforts the armed forces are putting, the people need to be brought into the whole factor and ensure that these things are protected.
Right, Mr. Agbangbu, I would like for us to put certain things into proper context because you've been mentioning some issues. You talked about the federal government perhaps being laid back. I'm also looking at the state, what they are doing to work hand in glove at addressing some of the issues. We look at the federal allocation that state governments are getting right now. It's increased. We know that oil-producing states get 13% derivation. All of that put together, one would expect that this would trickle down to the people of the state. But from all you have said and what we are seeing, it's like it's not getting to the people and it's not making the needed impact. Is that the failure of government not doing the needed, or the state also not, handshaking government in the manner at which whatever they get, they trickle it down to the people because they are closer to the people than the federal government? And if we are looking at a holistic approach to this, looking at the challenges, the state government also needs a role to play.
Yeah, I would say that the missing link in our national development today is the state government and lack of functional local government. State governments are not playing their roles. Just like you pointed out, you go to some of all these states that are privileged to be oil-producing states, Delta and all that in the Niger Delta. You see the amount of revenue they get every month, but nothing goes to these communities. And these community people, they are complaining because it seems the accusation is that the state governments are conniving with even the oil-producing companies to exploit them without giving back to the society, to these communities. So I think that in as much as we are talking about the federal government, because of course we know that the federal government controls oil revenues and all that, the state governments have failed in their own responsibility, and that is where if I not just only in this area, in all sectors of our national development, state governments have not really done much apart from maybe paying salaries and all that. And so what you said is right. The state governments, they need to play their roles, and we need to see local governments working, because if the local governments in those areas are working, then there will be some level of development that the people will see, and they will be able to support the efforts for this uninterrupted oil production. But without these 3 tiers of government working in synergy and in accordance to what our national aspiration is, we are going to continue to experience this. The Niger Delta State's governors are collecting a lot of money, like you pointed out. But you go down there, you won't see any development. Maybe only in the state capitals. Go beyond the state capitals, nothing is happening. And we can't
shouldn't they be held accountable like as we speak? Shouldn't they then be held accountable?
They should. They should, but they seem to be more powerful than the whole system, because it's so sad that is the situation we are having now. We keep on saying it, but in reality, they seem to be more powerful. And it's sad that all the blames are on the federal government, but the state government, they should do something to help their people, because these are people that elected them.
Very quickly, sir, let me put this in before we let you go. If you can tell that some of the persons who are running these oil refineries, illegal oil refineries, are former, experts in the sector. Shouldn't there also be some kind of a security intel as to the persons who are bankrolling behind the scenes these illegal refineries? Shouldn't our security agencies know about that?
Yeah, they should. It's a large conspiracy, and I'll tell you, because it's big business. Imagine on a weekly basis how many liters of crude oil that is being siphoned. Sometimes over 200,000. Sometimes shorten the oil production. Even though, as we speak, we can't actually be very sure of the accurate number that we are being produced. That is another ball game entirely, because the metering system we have been clamoring for, we have not seen it being put to use because it's only the figure that we are being told by the Nigeria Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission that we will take. So we don't really know how much really we are producing. But with the figures they are giving us and this number that is being stolen or being recovered, it's troubling. I think that there's need to keep intel with in fact, anybody who has experience with oil servicing business activities must be monitored to find out what role they are playing.
Absolutely, and that's a fine place to leave the conversation. Patrick Agbambu, security consultant, thank you for your time on the program.
Thank you so much.
All right, so many things he has said, and the aspect of accountability is the one that really bothers me. If, we know certain persons are there, in terms, for instance, the governors of the state, they have a role to play.
Exactly.
And if these kinds of things keep happening, they should be the first point for accountability from my perspective. What have you done with the resources giving you that is encouraging, that is making these people say, oh, we are not getting anything and we need to carry out these activities? You get the first intel about what is going on in your state.
Yes, in most cases, the governors are, I'm looking for the word that would, the governors find themselves like their hands are tied.
Who tied it?
They tied it.
Oh, they tied it.
Yeah, we are talking politics here. Okay. We don't need to go further than that. However, it is really painful for you to know that this thing we are talking about is what is feeding the whole country.
That's right.
It is the mainstay of the country, and it's coming from my village, and yet it does not reflect on me. What actually reflects is that I can't go to the farm anymore because the land won't produce, and I can't fish. And we are predominantly farmers and fishermen.
That's right.
So our livelihood has been taken away from us because of this resource, and yet we're not having anything back. That's why when Patrick says the development should go to them, I said, okay, that can solve this problem.
It's important that this problem is solved and nipped in the bud, Nelson, because we'll keep going around this circle if we are not being assertive and if we are not putting in the political will to addressing the matters where they should be addressed.
Yeah. Veronica, I like that word, the political will, because I think that is where this whole brouhaha ends at. The political will. We have the NDDC, now we have the SSDC, the South-South Development Commission as well. Both of them are probably going to do the same thing, bringing developments to the Niger Delta communities so that the tears of the people can be wiped away. But we're talking about years of degradation, years of neglect, years of, corrupt, if I could use the word, farmlands and waterbeds. We cannot continue like this. If you're coming to my backyard to take my crops to feed every other person, why on earth shouldn't I be fed fat by what comes from my courtyard?
But you put in place a security man to ensure that those who are things are in place.
Exactly.
And then we are seeing the people saying, oh, the security man is not paying attention to us.
So which means that we need to have the political will, like you mentioned, to change both the security man and the people who comes to take the produce from my courtyard. Because I don't even understand the vocabulary that is used to explain this kind of illegality continually for decades now. People are suffering. If you go into the Niger Delta communities, especially Bayelsa, some part of Port Harcourt, I was there, River State as it were, in Emoha community. And the then local government chairman showed me an area in his community that has been completely battered by oil spillage.
You need to hear stories. You need to hear stories.
Apart from just hearing Veronica, you need to see.
Yes, I've seen visuals
You need to see.
of this story because I know people who go there, who have gone there to tell stories. I've seen the visuals of people who have lost farmlands and no compensation whatsoever.
Nothing.
No
Things
access to water, just drinking water.
No, look, let's put this thing in perspective. Government doesn't want illegal refineries. Develop the place. Make jobs available for the people there.
That's right.
And all these illegal refineries
will die in natural death.
No, I'm talking about the state governments now.
So let's mention it. It's true. A lot of Nigerians keep pointing, accusing fingers to the federal government.
You cross your bar and
but
go all the way.
You leave the local government, you leave the state government, and you're going. But the state government are in place to address them to address these issues that you are talking about.
In this case, I'm talking to the state governments of every state. I mean, Bayelsa, Rivers, Cross River, Akwa Ibom, all the states.
Niger Delta states.
Yes, all the Niger Delta states develop those communities.
All right, we'll leave it there. Anyway, still ahead on the show, we will look at the fallout and economic shocks from the war in Israel and Iran. Stay with us.